Voice. Music, talk, and nothing but business with your hosts, Chris Nanolini and Mick Michaels. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cosmick Voice. This is Season 3, Episode 11. I am here with my co-host, Chris Nanolini.
What's up, everybody?
And I am Mick Michaels. Welcome back, everyone, to another exciting episode here with us. How you doing, buddy? What's going on with you?
Nothing, man. I'm doing good. How about yourself, Mick?
I'm doing fantastic. Now, for us recording this is October. This is your month of mayhem, slashing and grabbing and slicing and dicing, and God bless you all. Thanks for coming to the show. I'm telling you, I've never seen a more horror show than when you're watching Chris on stage and he's talking about mass murder and decapitation and doing the Braveheart from the underbellies up and he's just ripping and tearing and ripping, and at the very end, God bless you all. Thank you all for coming out. Be safe driving home. It's the craziest. I start rolling every time. I can't. That's my favorite part of the show. I bring people and go, now watch this. Watch this guy. This guy's tearing you apart with a knife the size of his leg. But by the end, he's going to tell you, God bless you. Thanks for coming and drive safe.
That's great.
But you know it's true.
Man, I do know it's true, bro. I do. I cannot argue any of that.
It's some of the scariest stuff ever until the very end. And it's like, oh, that wasn't so bad.
That's good, man. That's awesome, bro.
Yeah, but this is your month. And actually, later this month, it starts becoming my month because the Hallmark's going to start playing the weekends. I love it.
Yeah, man. We're my spiced wafers and candy corns are going to turn into hot chocolate and peppermint sticks soon, man.
That's right. Before you know it. So yeah, anything going on? You got anything happening for the Hollow season?
Well, no, man. I'm heading to a couple weeks. I'm heading to Orlando to Halloween Horror Nights, which I'm super excited about.
Oh, nice.
And now that they're back up and running, because last year they didn't do it, and this year they are in full force. So I can't wait to get my scare on.
Well,
can't wait.
You better get it in quick before we're kind of going into shutdown for the holiday season. They've already warning you, already threatening you. Shutting it down, people.
Shut it
down. And with that, we're going to get on to our topic for the evening. It is cover songs, cop-outs, or creative marketing. Cover songs. Are they cop-outs? Are they an easy fix, an easy something to do, or are they creative marketing on an artist's part? What do you think, buddy?
I've always been a fan of bands doing cover songs. Always. And then obviously as the years have gone on, bands have done like whole cover albums, but I'm okay with it. That doesn't bother me. I like to hear, my favorite bands do my other favorite band, maybe older favorite band songs. I think it's great. I think some of them are, let's be honest, some of them are better than the originals, to be honest.
Sure.
But I love it. That never bothered me. The one thing that it does bother me is when bands, unfortunately, can get popular or famous, however you want to put it, in 2021, by a cover song and not by an original. Right, like one of the big examples that come straight to my head. It's maybe a little, this may be a little underground, but a number of years ago there was a band out of California called Ugly Kid Joe, and they had this everything about I Hate Everything About You song. But what really broke them is when they did Cats in the Cradle, and it really, really took them to a whole new level. And I was a fan of them before that, and of course I was happy to see them break, but I'm like, I think people are missing the mark, man, because their original material is so good and everybody's so concerned with Cats in the Cradle. And, that's just one example, I'm sure, of many bands. I'm sure you probably have some examples too, but I never looked at it as a cop-out. I always thought it was a cool thing to do, although I do understand where you could think it as a cop-out. The one thing I always thought about coming from a live setting especially when you're in a band like you and I, where sometimes in a set you could lose people because maybe those people just don't know your music, and that's okay. So sometimes you throw in a cover to kind of get them back in. You know, in my former band, my guitar player was hell bent on never doing a cover song. And sometimes when you play an hour and 10 minutes like we did, you lose them. I mean, it's just how it is. It's the nature of the business. You lose people after a certain amount of time. You get them while they're hot, and it kind of, you know, it evens out, you know, it kind of goes down a little, and then the end you pick back up. I always believed in throwing a cover song in there sometimes would just be the right move, because what it does is it just brings people back. You know, I always felt that throwing in a cover song wasn't such a bad idea. You know, there are definitely bands I've seen throw in way too many cover songs. Perfect example, me and my wife just went and saw the Guns N' Roses reunion a couple weeks ago, and they played 3.5 hours, and they were unbelievably amazing. Nobody can match this band, but they probably did like 6 covers. And with 3.5 hours, I kind of understand you're throwing covers in there probably for that reason, because you're going to lose people in 3.5 hours. You're just going to do it. I don't care if you're Guns N' Roses or if you're Seeds of Perdition. Like, you're going to lose people by playing that long. So throwing in cover songs as a business tactic, I get it. But there's also that level of, okay, you maybe done too many cover songs. Like, maybe you could have threw in another original. I don't know. It's a seesaw, but I don't think it's a cop-out. Obviously, we haven't heard your opinion yet, but I do not believe it's a cop-out. I think it's a great idea. I think it gets people to notice you, especially if the cover is good. And, you know, I think it's okay for a live setting to throw a cover song or two in. I do. That never bothered me. Although I am a big proponent of, you know, pushing your original material. But if you're in a house full of people that don't know you, a cover song or two is not always a bad idea.
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, I've never hid the fact that I'm an original guy. I like original music.
Yes.
I prefer to play original music. I got into this to play original music, write my own stuff.
Me too.
I'll be honest with you, at this stage of the game, actually, through my whole entire career, I don't think I can play someone else's song all the way through any way, shape, or form. I never spent the time learning other songs. That's probably why some of my chops are either different or not as good as they should be, because I never spent those hours on end like you hear so many artists or musicians talk about. I listened to the album, kept going around. I would hear a song, you know, and I go, I want to write a song similar to that. I wanted to be a songwriter, and I would, you know, deconstruct it mentally and then take it to the guitar and then just create my own, whatever I felt was something like that, whether it was a feeling, whether it was an emotion, whether it was a style or technique, you know. I mean, because again, like, I created technique from listening to other people's technique or being able to watch them, type of thing. So I never got into this to play other people's music. So years ago, I would have probably said, yeah, it was a cop-out. But if you look at the picture of playing cover songs, historically, it's something that everyone has always done. I mean, the Beatles did it. When they went to Hamburg, when Pete Best was still with them, and they had that dude Stewart was their bass player and Paul was still playing guitar, they played covers. They weren't throwing in, though they had originals, they weren't throwing them in at the time. They were doing 4 hours, 6 hours of other material, other people's material. So they were a working band, and that's the way it was looked at, right? And that's how you did it. So historically, it's something that everyone did at that time, right? When you and I were young, and, you know, bands had become the thing to do. So the original scene was starting to really boom. And you went to venues and you heard original bands. Like, the only time I remember seeing cover bands was at a wedding, or even at, like, say, like a community day or something like that, At one point, it was all original bands nonstop, and like you said, people would throw in an occasional cover and things of that nature, and that was, I guess, always kind of okay. But here was my take on the covers of bands doing covers. If you're not going to do them well, or do them with some kind of twist that brings it back to your style, especially if you're an original band, then I was like, I'm not doing them. I just won't, there's no point to do them. I don't want to hear them. Like, I don't want to hear a bad cover song. Though, it's become I've played with so many bands all over the U.S. where a cover band's brought in to finish the night, or they're kind of peppered in here or there to keep, like you said, to keep the crowd. And I've learned that even a bad cover band seems to keep the crowd. And people just don't care because there's that familiarity with the song. They can sing along with it. They're not paying attention. They don't really know. And again, I'm not here to judge on whether someone's playing it well or not. There's different versions and different ways to play stuff. But I always thought if you were going to do a cover, do it in a way that's either, one, really good, like it matches the original song, or like you had said, surpasses it, or it's done in a different type of manner that makes it more interesting. Now, you had said that, bands have popped. Ugly Kid Joe was one of those, right? When they did the Cats in the Cradle thing. Disturbed was another one. There's a band that's been around forever, and then they do the Simon and Garfunkel song, and now they went from an opening act to headliner. Yeah. And a major thing, I mean, it's like now they're like, an A band in a sense, in terms of how it's booked and stuff like that. So I don't know if that was calculated or not, but if you followed Disturbed's career, they had always a cover. They did the with Tears for Fears, right? Shout, all that. And then they did the Genesis song. They were very popular songs too. However, they did not hit the mainstream where you opened up the doors to a much larger audience. And really, the creative genius in that, not just with Disturbed, but the reason that you cover a song, most people will cover a song that was already some level hit. And you are right. There are certain, like here, case in point, that the song became a bigger hit than the original when, Ace Frehley did New York Groove.
Oh, yeah, true,
that song became a much bigger hit than the original. Now, I don't even think most people have heard the original. And, I mean, even just a few years ago, New York Groove was on a car commercial or something like that. It is creative genius. The idea is you take a song that's already been somewhat of a hit and you kind of lush it up a little bit, right? You embellish it. You put your stamp on it, and it takes you even higher. Now, again, I'll go back to saying, like with Ace Frehley, doing covers is always something that he's kind of. Even he did it with Kiss, right? With 2000 Man, right? So he had that flair to it. He still does it with all his newer stuff, Anomaly, and and he did it with with the stuff he did with Paul Stanley, and I can't even think of what it was called, but everybody, if you're an Ace Frehley fan, So he's doing covers and things like that. So some guys do covers, I think, because they're paying tribute or homage to, the music that they love or grew up with or whatnot. And then some guys are using it strategically, saying, listen, I got to get on the map somehow. And could that be an easy cop-out? Well, yeah, in some regards, because you haven't been able to write that song. Or you can't get that group, that team together to help you put that song, that original song together. So it's hard to say, and you can look at it in both ways. But I'll tell you what, on a personal end, I have started to look at cover material way differently. Now, I'm not talking about tribute bands. I'm still kind of on the fence about tribute bands. I understand them. I do. I get it wholeheartedly, why there's such an allure. One, it's usually a less expensive night out to go see a tribute band. Or if your favorite band is not performing anymore, like some of these Led Zeppelin bands, I get it. But I just don't understand these musicians that sometimes, and I've met some of them. Some of them, I get why they're doing it. They're making money, right? And there is not that much money or any money or, however you want to spin it in original music. We'll be honest. That's the truth. So a lot of these guys that are doing original music are sidelining with, a tribute band, right? They don't call them cover bands or tribute bands. In my opinion, if you're going to do a tribute band, it should resemble something of that band. I've seen some tribute bands that there's nothing at all looking like the band. It's just them playing music, and it doesn't even sound like that band. So that's where my issue with that is. But for covers, that's different. Again, if you're an original band, you're throwing in. That's kind of where we're at with this. I think this topic is more like original artists or bands that are either contemplating, considering, or have already incorporated some level of cover material into their repertoire. That may be the little push that they need, right? And again, why do you do it? You do it because it reaches a larger audience. That's something that they're already familiar with. And if it was a pretty big hit and you do a half-decent job, you may be able to, do well for yourself. It puts you on the charts. It pushes your album sales, or whatever they're called now, your digital sales, your digital streams, to a more positive way. Look, Van Halen's done it, right? And that's everybody's favorite band.
Van Halen literally made a career off of covers. I mean, they started out as a cover band, and
right?
They, continued through their years. They were covers on all. If you look at Dive or Down, I think half, if not most, of the record is covers.
Right. Well, again, if you look at it, again, bands from the late '50s into the '60s, even into the '70s, everybody was doing covers. That's how you made money. That's how you could play the circuit doing covers, and nobody had a problem with it. By the end of the '70s, that original material really started to pop more and more. I think it started to pop once the Beatles became the Beatles, who the world knew. Like, hey, original material is where you want to be. You want your own stuff. But bands to generate, to keep building, to do what they had to do, cover material was the way to do it. And then they would pepper in their original material. Now it's the other way around. You you pepper in some, like you said, to keep some. I've been on a lot of different touring opportunities where a lot of the heavier bands, they'll throw in a Motorhead song. Ace of Spades, or Killed by Death, or something like that, and everybody goes nuts. And I've heard a lot of bad versions of them, right? You know what I mean? And some people go, well, how can it be any worse than the original? I get it, bump.
Right.
But the point is, and people go nuts because it's something that they can really latch on to. They either use it as a closing number or the number before they close with their original.
Right.
So I mean, I had done a multitude of shows with one band that they kept rotating more and more covers and opting not to do their original set. Like anything from the original set, they kept, and then it was like this, or it was that, or it was this, or it was that. And then the thing is like, if your covers are all over the place and you're still trying to play your originals, I think it just starts throwing off what is the band trying to do or be. Right? And I think that a lot of bands early on, when they are doing tons of covers and then they start doing originals, their originals are nothing but cover versions of, or copy versions of some cover. And then their original set is like, well, they got like a glam type sound here, but then they go heavier over here, and then they try to do this metalcore thing over here, and then it's like actually listening to like 5 or 6 bands, and I find that puts me off as a listener, as a fan of the music, because when I go see a band, and especially if it's a band that I'm more familiar with, like, I want to see some cohesion, and I still believe that bands need to have that. It's very important.
Oh, 100%.
It's very important
100%.
to have that type of, that collectiveness, because it keeps, like you were saying, it keeps everybody involved. And again, like now for us, for the most part, sets are no more than 45 minutes tops. So you can bang out a lot of original songs in that time, as long as you keep things moving. And I can go into something in my philosophy of how a set should be to keep the audience engaged. But I think for any original band, once you get to that 33, 35 mark, though we're only talking a difference of 10 minutes now, that can be the 10 minutes that people aren't sure, well, okay, that's about enough of the attention span, especially in today's world when our attention span is about 8 seconds.
Right,
so,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's tough, especially, too, if the bar is, like, 2 blocks away from where the stage is. And I've been in clubs like that. Like, can you guys hear me back there? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Like, how about you bring the bar just a little closer to keep the people at the stage? You know what I mean?
This is Stephen Piercy from Rat, the Rat Bastard. You're listening to the Cosmick Voice.
Sometimes I've called an audible actually on stage. Like, I mean, listen, with Siege, we only have 2 covers in our catalog that we just keep, but every once in a while, I'll just kind of scan the audience and seeing if I feel like we may be losing them, then I'll call an audible and throw that cover in there, and it brings them back, even if it's just to get them for that last 10, like you had said. Sometimes it's just a matter of 10 minutes.
Sure.
And sometimes it's all you need. You just need to bring them back, and sometimes a cover is what you do.
Yeah, well, listen. Unfortunately, my band, we have no covers in the curtains on the side. We just, like I said, even to this day, I didn't get into this to do covers. Saying that, though, over the last year or so, I've slightly changed my mind on the importance of maybe for some bands to include covers. I don't see a problem. I mean, even my favorite band, Judas Priest, had done cover versions. Better cover versions, Green Manalishi and is it Diamonds and Rust and
Johnny Be Good.
Johnny Be Good. You'd be hard pressed for them to play it, but I still thought it was a pretty good rendition of it. So again, I see the importance as I start to get older, and I see how the sea of madness is happening right now. 60,000 plus new uploads daily, over 2 million monthly. Right now being reported, and that number's only going to go up more and more. And if we go into another shutdown for the holidays, expect more first and second quarter of 2022. I see that if you want to separate yourself just a little bit more, that maybe doing a real good cover version of something, and it doesn't have to be a song that was already a number one hit. It could be that deep cut, that obscure song from a band that maybe you felt should have been better or bigger. Then if that's the case, then do something with it. Take it someplace else.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with changing up the arrangement just a tad or adding your arrangement to it. I know a lot of people go, well, that's a bastardization of someone else's material. Well, listen, if you're doing a cover version to begin with, you playing it in some weird sense is a bastardization of it. You're not playing the exact same song nowhere near way, shape, or form. So don't try to. Do it your own way. Come up with, a reggae version, a rap version, a metal version, a country version, a folk version. You could do anything you want. Pop version. It doesn't make a difference. If it works to your audience, like if you already have a small audience of like 2 people, well then play to that audience. Do a cover song that kind of fits whatever it is you're doing, whatever that genre, right? I mean, if you're a death metal band, I don't think you're going to do a reggae version. No, it could work. Right. I get it. They have that reggae Kiss that's out now. They're becoming huge. I mean, it's amazing. But you know what I mean. What is it? The Mac Sabbath or whatever? Is that what it's called?
Oh my God! Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just crazy stuff. I mean, whatever works. But I think that again, if you're going to do a cover, do it in a way that really sells it. That sells you selling that song. Because at the end of the day, what is it, right? The creativity of it, that getting something, the creative marketing, that smarts, that know-how, is about how is this going to sell me better? How is this going to get me the awareness that I need to the audience that I need or feel I deserve or that I'm missing to get my music heard? Because essentially, why do you do a cover? To get them to go, well, what else is this person doing? What else is this band doing? Let me see what they're doing. Yes. Oh, wow, look at that. Yep. That's pretty cool. Then that's how you start picking up fans. I mean, you may not pick up everybody, but at the same time, again, going back to Disturbed, they did that song, Sound of Silence, and it just blew up. It just went crazy. And that album had already been out for a bit. And then they're headlining tours and shows are selling out. Tickets are a good price. You know what I mean? It's just incredible. I mean, unfortunately, most of their stuff last year, because of COVID and all, it was postponed, canceled, whatever, rescheduled. But they were there, and I don't think that they're going to drop down until things get back to normal, right? Because people still have that on the brain. So it's definitely one of those things, man. It's artists are doing it. So it's not a bad thing.
You can also look at there have been bands in our lifetime that have had a career kind of not fizzled out, but kind of slowed down, or they were kind of out of everybody's eye, and then they do a cover and back it revitalizes their career. A perfect example was Cheap Trick. They were hot through the 70s. kind of cooled through the 80s, and then they did that Elvis Presley cover, and it changed it revitalized their entire career again.
Right, the Don't Be Cruel.
Yeah.
It reminded people, hey, these guys got, they had that certain savoir-faire about their music. It was like carefree and quirky, but it was rocky and rolly, you know what I mean, the whole thing. And they're like, and people, and people go, oh yeah, that's right. And then a whole new group of, because they were kind of 80s-fied at some point, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, Robin Zander looked pretty much good in all the decades that have passed. The guy, you know what I mean? So, I mean, he just had that look, and it just, for the 80s, it fit even really good. And yeah, it just kind of skyrocketed them again. Look, like I said, everybody's done it. I mean, even, here's a funny thing. Doing a rap cover version of their own song brought Aerosmith back.
Yeah.
I mean, from that late 80s, it brought them back on the charts. It brought them back in the public eye. And for the next 15 years, they were pretty much everywhere. They were besides Guns N' Roses in the 90s until they, imploded, all the above plus, they were the band of the 90s. They seemed to be able to ride that storm. They did the song to Armageddon, and they had their, their 3 albums or whatever, and it just kept rolling for them. There's a band who did a cover song, different version, for a different genre for their own song, and it just brought them back. I think that was bigger than the original, which then brought the original back on the charts.
Absolutely.
Right?
And then also too, I'm always curious about bands that make that decision to disturb, Sound of Silence. I'm always curious to those bands that go, we're going to release this cover as a single, especially when it's the first single off the album, i.e. Motley Crue's Theater of Pain. Their first single was Smoking in the Boys' Room. And, I go, there's so many great songs on that record. I wonder, it may not even been their decision, maybe a management decision, especially with Vince going through what he went through during recording of that record. I often wonder, what makes someone go, we're going to release. That's one thing I would never do. I would never release the cover as a single, at least the first single off the record. If I'm going to do a cover, it's going to be on a record. You'll probably never hear it as a single, or if you do, it's going to be definitely not the first, because that's like you. I got into this to create original music, and although I don't mind doing covers and I understand covers, I would never put them above my original music. Perfect example,
I agree.
Putting out Smoking in the Boys' Room to promote your new Motley Crue record when there's other great. I mean, we all obviously now we know how big Home Sweet Home got. Well, why didn't you put that out first? Or if you wanted to make a rocking song your first single, like Smoking in the Boys' Room, you picked the cover. To me, I'm not even a big fan of that song. I'm not a big fan of the original either, but I'm like, that's the one you go with. So that always is interesting to me too, i.e. Disturbed going, hey, let's release Sound of Silence. As good as that song is, to release it as a first single, it baffles me to no end.
Just to throw some stuff out there, make people think, including myself, I think that, in my opinion, the decision for Motley Crue was probably a sign of the times. That was the song, if you think about it, that song fit the time at that time, right? It wasn't it wasn't too heavy. It crossed some lines because they went from that, that kind of Kiss look to like Kiss on the Death End look, you know what I mean, kind of all, whatever. And then they kind of went into almost like they look like sinister clowns for Theater of Pain, right? And I think so. They, though it kind of looked a little, it was, now you look at it with the pink and the lace and the, the heavy makeup. I think, the polka dots and the stripes and the up on knob. But I think that it softened them, and they wanted the song to do the same thing to get a bigger audience. And I think that
that's fair.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, look, Theater of Pain, though it's not one of Nicky's favorite albums. I think, to me, it's actually it was actually the last album that I got into with them, because the rest of them got to be a little too poppy mainstream, and they went some other place.
Well, I agree with
that.
But
they also they also continued to Theater of Pain on. They exploded unbelievably. Girls, and Dr. Feelgood or whatever. So But I think with Sound of Silence, I think that was an artistic decision. I think in the way they looked at it is like, hey, this is an artistic piece. This is a composition that we strongly believe in. I don't know, and I could be completely wrong. I'm just kind of making this up as I go along. But I don't know if it was the choice that, like, hey, I don't know. They go, oh, this is the song that's going to pull us to the mega top. You know, after almost 20 years of being around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's a maturity level decision for a band that's been around 20 years, and they're not afraid to do that.
You are listening to The Cosmic Voice with your hosts, Chris Natalini and Mick Michaels.
So let me ask you this on a personal level, or business, however you want to put it. So let's say you guys record that version of Sound of Silence, because I'm not a Disturbed guy by any means, but that song is amazing. It's just, the original song is amazing. Yeah. Their version of it is unbelievable. So it's on your record, and the label comes to you and says, what do we want to release as a single? I think we should release Sound of Silence. Do you do it? Knowing how good it is, but by going by what you just said about Disturbed, knowing how good that is, do you release that single as your first one, being a cover?
I would, well, if I could surmise or assume, however you want to say it, their situation, I would have probably said yeah with everybody else. However, normally no, I don't. I would want the heavy, hard-hitting song. Now listen, I've been a Disturbed fan since the very beginning. They were one of those modern bands at that time that I actually liked back then, got into, thought they were really, had this. I mean, the thing about Disturbed is after a while, a lot of their stuff starts sounding the same.
Sounds good, man.
You know what I mean? And I'm not, hey, that's okay. There's some things. I personally think that album is a little too long, the one with Sound of Silence on. I think they could have cut it down, maybe 3 or 4 songs. But maybe after, how many albums they had, maybe that would have been, if you looked at their track record, maybe that was the best, say, hey, look, we did it this way, we've tried this, we've done this, let's give this a shot.
But would you do it?
Would I do it? No, I wouldn't do it. Because again, I'm pushing my own thing.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
I'm also not staring at a check that, somebody says, listen, this is what's going to happen. This is probably what's going to happen. But, you think about it like this. Let's talk about it in a business way. They got to pay a certain amount of royalty to that song to have it, a physical license, right? Mechanical license, a sound recording license. They're going to put out big money for that. That's not like that was a cheap song. That's a big song, right? So in some cases, they're like, they got to put this money out. There's so many pressings of this. Say I'm just going to say, they say sell 1 million of that CD or whatever. They got to pay for 1 million plus to have it, right? And it's probably something they're going to have to renew because now that's the album in their catalog that everybody's going to go to. Okay, they're going to constantly go back to. So you want to make some of that money back or make good on it so that what you are paying out, because can't be anything worse than doing a cover song for an album that goes nowhere that you got to still continue to pay the mechanical and sound recording fee on. Like, oh my God. So the only person making out is the publisher and maybe the original songwriter if he or she actually still has any digs to it. So, it's hard to say, and everybody's going to say, well, blah, blah, blah. And I've always said, listen, I'll write one big album for a record company. I don't care, because I'm confident enough that I'll write another one. Will it be a hit? I don't know. Will it be a hit either way? Who the hell knows? But
do you like, how do you feel about cover albums? Because I like them. I enjoy them. There's so many. You mean like these tribute?
They're calling tribute albums. Like you do a tribute, like bands do tributes to.
No, not necessarily like a various artist tribute. More like right in your wheelhouse is Striper's complete cover album. They do.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Kansas and Sabbath and like. How do you feel about those kind of records? Because I enjoy them. I do like them.
I don't know. I think maybe for some of them, I don't know. I don't know if I would spend an entire album doing somebody else's material when I could do it. I'd rather write my own material, even if it's not as good stuff. I think I don't think I would spend the time doing it because again, I don't spend any time. Like if I love a song, I don't love it enough to go learn it.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, if I play a little piece of it, that's cool. You know, like I can play a lot of Priest songs, but not from start to finish. A little section that I like, or I can muddle through it, and I go, okay, that's the end of that. I'll go back to doing my own stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah, moving on. You know what I mean?
Moving on.
Like, I mean, you know, like Breaking the Law, right? So, I mean, I know most of Breaking the Law, but there's that middle part that I kind of flub. And the funny thing is years back in the 80s, we did Breaking the, like, we had practiced in the band Seeker that I was in. We did 3 cover songs.
I was going to say, you guys did cover songs. I remember that.
No, we never played them in a live show. We practiced them with the Hopes.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, we did Breaking the Law. We did Shout It Out Loud, and we did it was a Whitesnake song or something like that. I don't know, but we did our own version of it. It was on the album before Slide It In. We practiced them for months on end. I mean, and kind of did our own thing. And then finally at the end, we got them and we go, oh, we're not doing these live. We just wasted all this time, you know, we're not doing them live. We had this belief that that's what we were going to do. In the process, we were writing more material. Now, listen, again, I know why guys will do cover songs, because if they just get started and they're writing some original material, they get 2 or 3 songs, and it takes a while to write them until you kind of get into the groove. How do you fill out? And you want to play live, and you got to do a 30-minute set. What do? You round it out with some of your favorite covers. I get it. And then you're stuck with that, right? And it gets harder and harder to, you know, so I went the other route and go, well, I'm too dumb to remember somebody else's stuff. Let me write my own stuff. It's a lot easier, because then at least I know I can play it, and nobody will know if it's right or wrong. So, you know, and I got into it, and that's how I did it. But I don't think I would do a whole album if given the opportunity, because really, look, okay, the Stryper album is good. You're absolutely right. But did any of those songs become a hit?
No. But, you know, I often wonder, I will say this, to not to get in, because this isn't about Stryper, but it is about cover songs. I will say this. I don't know, and you may tell me wrong, so please step in. I don't know if they would have done that cover record if Michael's Sweet version of Peace of Mind did really, really well. If you remember, he did that Boston song, I think it was for a charity.
Right.
It may have been even the Great White Fire charity. In fact, I think it was.
Yeah.
And he did Peace of Mind with one of the original guys from Boston, and it is unbelievable. And they ended up putting it on a Stryper record.
Right.
But that cover record came out not long after that. And I wonder if, because Peace of Mind got such great coverage and great publicity for him or them, I'm wondering if that cover album would have never seen the light of day, if that Peace of Mind would have never happened.
It's absolutely possible, but you consider this too, you know, as Stryper was kind of like, you know, like for a lot of people, Stryper had disappeared. Like, what happened to Stryper? Well, they were still there. You know what I mean?
Right.
But they just weren't in that same zone of people's awareness. This could have been a way to, like, say, hey, we're still here. You know, because, like, and I don't have any problem with the Christian thing, the God thing, pushing Jesus. I don't have anything, because I'm a Stryper fan. I love their music. I get it.
Me too.
It makes me want to go out and convert. I get it.
Makes you want to sing.
Yeah, it makes you want to sing. So I get it. Absolutely. I love it. I get chills every time he hits that note. You know what I mean? 30-some years later, I'm still like, you got it. I go to my wife, listen to this. And I crank it up. You know what I mean? Makes me want to... You know what I mean? So I get it. But the thing is a lot of people got tired of it. Right? They got tired of it. And this may have been a way to say, hey, we do other things. We can do other things. It's not, you know, we do enjoy other music and stuff like that. And so I don't know. I mean, I'm just talking to add some flavor to it.
Listen, that makes perfect sense too. It really does. And it could have showed, you know, because of some of the songs they chose to do. I mean, listen, Michael Stryper doing Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, you know, it could have shown that they were like, listen, just because we have these beliefs, we may not push them as much as we did back in the day, but we still have these beliefs, we still believe in it, and we do these other things, and we do enjoy this other kind of music, even though you know what our background is. So no, that makes perfect sense.
Sure,
too,
but they grew up with that stuff, right? They were influenced just like everybody else. I mean, they're into heavy metal, so if, you know, they had to, especially at that era, that age, you know, Black Sabbath and so on and so forth. So I totally get it. The other thing is these tribute albums, you're going to get a lot of bands that normally never do a cover song, and then they would be on this, right?
Yeah.
They would be on, which is to me is a smart move, right? You're not specializing in covers. You don't include covers. You may never ever play that song, but you're paying tribute to a band or an artist that maybe have influenced you. You really enjoy listening to their music, and it's a great promotion revenue, right?
Yeah,
it's a generator.
Sure. Yep.
Just recently, Mark Rizzo with his new band, Hate something, or I can't remember, but they did God of Thunder, a version of God of Thunder.
Oh,
now,
okay.
Mark admitted in one of my interviews that he wasn't a huge Kiss fan, but other members of the band were. But they took God of Thunder because, to a lot of people, that's Kiss's heavy song. And I get it. I was never a huge God of Thunder fan. I like Paul Stanley's version.
I was never. I was never a God of Thunder guy.
Yeah. I'm a Strutter, Come and Love Me, Detroit Rock City. Yep. I can listen to them over and over again.
Over and over,
yep. Yeah, I mean, I like Mr. Speed and Hard Luck Woman. That's probably, actually, I like Hard Luck Woman better than I like Beth. That's my personal
Absolutely,
thing.
100%.
You know what I mean? But that's just the way. That's just the way it goes, people. That's just the way it goes. And to me, Paul Stanley still had the better solo album. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care. I don't care. You got a problem with it, you email Chris. Let him answer you. So, anyway, but, so I get that. It's a good generator. And a lot of times, when those bands do those tribute albums, they're not the ones that have to pay the mechanical fees and the sound recording fees. It's packaged in, so it's an easy thing for them. They get paid, they get some promotion, they get to be part of, they get to meet their heroes, they get to be part of this thing. And it's sometimes, like, I think the one Kiss one, right, isn't that part of the Kiss catalog?
Yes, it is.
Right? It is. Yeah. So I mean,
because I think Paul and Gene they were involved in the entire process.
Yeah. And some of those bands I don't even think you hear anymore. But you'll find them in the Kiss catalog. So you're forever, part of the thing. So
true.
And if you're lucky enough, you'll be asked to perform on a Kiss cruise or at some convention. So it's like being part of Star Trek or Star Wars. You're in, dude. You're in. I mean, Mark Slaughter's part of the whole Kiss thing, and it's kind of weird. It's not even a direct thing to Kiss. He took the sideways, but he got along with Paul Stanley, and then they went out with, and then now he's. Hey, I'll take it. Whatever. It all works somehow.
Hell yeah. Whatever gets you there.
Whatever gets you there. So, the bottom, there you go. Chris said it. Whatever gets you there. So, if cover song, Chris did it. That's it. We're done. Good night. If he said it.
That's the name of the show.
That's it. I'm going to rip and tear and slash and dash. Good night, everyone. God bless you. Thanks for coming out. Drive home safely. Anyway, if it gets you wherever you want to go, do it. If a cover song gets you where you want to go, do it, man. More power to you. There's so much competition out there now. There's so much out there. Whatever you need to do to stand out, if you got to do a heavy metal version of When Doves Cry or Purple Rain, which may be a good idea, do it, baby. Do it. You got anything you want to add, Chris? Come on, tell us.
No.
What do you want to add?
Nope, I'm good. I don't have anything else to add. I think that I don't believe it's a cop-out. I think it's business decisions that do make bands release cover songs as singles like Disturbed or Ugly Kid Joe or, like we had talked about earlier, Motley Crue, but I don't believe it's a cop-out. I think it's a cool thing. If you do it good and correctly, it could be something really, really awesome.
There you go, people, right from the rock star's mouth. If you like this episode, check out some of our other episodes at www.thecosmicvoice.com. Step into the Cosmic Verse. You never know what you'll find. You never know what you'll find. Thanks so much for listening. This is the Cosmic Voice. Be sure to check us out at thecosmicvoice.com. Like and follow us on Facebook at The Cosmic Voice. You can find The Cosmic Voice everywhere you listen to online podcasts, like Deezer, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Stitcher, and so many more.
Okay, folks, that will do it for another episode of The Cosmic Voice. Mick and I would like to say thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
You're listening to the Cosmic Voice. Music, talk, and nothing but business.